Hello and welcome to Only Frames and welcome to part 2 of our pairs knockout competition. If you did miss part 1, it's still available within our video feed, but if you can't be bothered to go back and watch it, that's absolutely fine. It has no bearing on this second video. We had some shocks in the last round. Brad actually made contact with a cue ball, as you can see there. Steve absolutely dominated the penalty skills challenge, but today, coming up for you, we have ourselves a potting challenge called Card Killer. Now the rules are simple. Each of the players out there needs to pot as many balls as they can, a bit like normal killer, but you also have some magic cards where you can make your opponent miss a go, you can reverse the order, or you can make them have another go. It's basically Uno and potting combined, and what more could you want? We're going to head straight to the action there, and Scott must have had a mole in his pocket, or was he just happy to see me? That red get in, and it come back out. I've not seen the likes on this channel before, but it brings Steve to the table as we get a score update, and currently at the top is Scott and Chris, and trailing in behind it's Scott number 2 and Darren, and myself and Brad are languishing second to bottom with only 1 point, which I procured. So far, Brad has let the team down, but let's get to the action. Brad's at the table, and I, for one, am hoping he pots as many balls as he can and finally gets us some points on the board today. Now, the overall objective for these pairs is to secure as many points as they can in the challenges by finishing higher up the leaderboard. The 4 teams with the most points at the end of the challenges will find themselves in the semi-finals, where they will be competing for the first ever Pairs Cup competition trophy. Scott's at the table and he is currently top alongside Chris, his playing partner, and Scott is dressed like a plum, but will he have a pair of them when it comes down to the later stages of this competition? He's got himself the best partner, but will they be a great partnership? The likes of Ant and Deck, your Torval and Dean, your Debbie McGee and Paul Daniels, but can they create magic together? Craig's coming to the table now and he's not got an easy ball on. He's already down to 2 lives, but can he find a pot to stay on that, or will he be down to 1 before we've even got going in this competition? He's down to 1. He's only been at the table twice, and that is a shocking start for Craig, who him and his partner have had an abysmal start so far. Will that change as this unfolds? Scott's at the table and he's about to play the first card of the competition so far. He's decided to skip a go because he didn't fancy any of the options on the table. Bringing Steve to the table, but will he play a card, or will he believe in his own potting ability after his earlier exploits in the penalty shootout, where from the spot he was like Matt Letitia? He was a master of his craft without the bizarre and out of this world theories. He's not a flat earther, is our Steve, and he doesn't believe that 5G gives you coronavirus. He's not into all them mysterious and quirky and mad theories, but he was a madman when it came to knocking them in off the spot. Brad can't knock them in as they're over the hole, and speaking of out of this world, Joe, who can be out of this world on his day, is coming to the table, and he's going to look to be a rascal here. He's trying to get that cue ball in behind the yellow, which he does nicely, and Scott immediately Uno reverses him, giving Joe another go, but Joe's not going to settle for that. He's Uno reverse. The Uno reverse are 2 reverses, making a straightforward. I don't know, I'm losing the plot here, but it does mean that it's still Scott's go, and all I can see him taking on is a double. If he knocks this in, he's burnt himself a card, because he could have just done this straight off the bat. Does he have the ability to pot it? Yes, he does, into the middle. The man dressed as an eggplant is giving us more than that emoji would suggest. And whose go is it next? I believe it's going to be Mark, as he strolls and makes his way to the table, when no doubt he's going to knock that yellow into the middle bag. Now, maybe this pot isn't as straightforward as it seems, as Mark is making his way round the table longer than I thought he would. Or did he just have a little look at that 8 ball to see if it went down the bottom left-hand bag to get himself an extra life? He does roll that one into the middle, and Craig is playing a card. He's playing a skipper go, as he doesn't believe that he has the ability to pot any of his balls. Bringing Scott 2.0 to the table, who's already burnt a card, who's already missed a pot through no fault of his own after it popped out earlier. He's to-ing and throwing. Is he going to be a greedy boy and go for this 8-ball into the middle bag? He absolutely blasts it. It goes off the cushion once, and once again he has been robbed. It's slipped out. The 8-ball has spun round the pocket. Is this guy the unluckiest player on Only Frames? And he's given Steve a chance to really benefit from Scott's poor fortune, but Steve can't take it and he's fuming. He's potted the cue ball, giving another £1 to charity, to the Lou the Dog Foundation. No, the charity isn't really called that. It's Angels for Dogs. Honestly, there is no corruption. No, there's no corruption going on here. It is a real charity. Brad gets ball in hand, and I hope my best mate is going to roll this in and take the extra life. What a pot by Brad. What a player. Take back all I've said about him over the years. He's a great player. He did leave Joe on, which I'm not too happy with, as Joe is a competitor for Brad. But Brad remains hanging on in there on 3 lives, and he's got all 3 cards. As Tinky Winky comes to the table, will he be like Fifi LaFume or Ursula? He's dressed in purple, but will he be bruised after this? He certainly should be. I'd be leaving the boozer if I missed by that much. You need to leave the game before the game leaves you. And Scott, the game has left you, my friend. You were a good player a few seasons ago, but ever since then, after he made the final of the Division 1 Ramsgate Rail Pool League Invitational, his game has gone downhill. The expectancy on him. He was an underdog before that, and since that day he's never been able to live up with the tag that comes along with the success that he previously had. He needs to leave the game. It would be great for all of us, but he's still a best mate of mine. As Craig plays another card, he's down to 1 life and only 1 card. This looks like it's going to end up only one way for Craig. Bringing Mark to the table, as we've had an Uno reverse played, reverse in the order, meaning that Scott 2.0 has had his first bit of good luck of the day. He could have been eliminated there, as that pot wasn't easy. He'd had 2 disastrous pieces earlier on in the day, with 2 of his pots unnecessarily coming out of the pocket, but Mark had to take on the pot and he was unable to pot it, bringing Daphne from Scooby-Doo back to the table. But will we be taking a ride in the mystery machine, or will we just feel insulted from the attempt that he puts to try and pot this? Oh no, he's played another card because he don't fancy his chances, bringing Joe to the table, and he's not got a gimme here. It looks like he's going to take on this left to the top left hand pocket. That's a yellow to the top now, not the left to the top left hand pocket. What is wrong with me? I've lost the plot, and that is a great cue ball from Joe. I don't fancy Brad's chances from here. Please, Brad, play a card, which he does ever so nicely, and he decides to reverse the order, bringing Joe back to the table, and Joe plays a card of his own, deciding to skip a go, meaning that the purple prancer himself is coming to the table. Where is Tinky Winky, Dipsy and Poe? This guy is having a la-la, but he does. He makes us all go to La La Land. That is musical theatre at its best, as poetry in motion. He sinks one to the top right hand pocket. Whose go have we got now? We've got Mark's, but he's played a card as well. These guys are all balling it, and they want to ensure that they aren't the first teams eliminated, securing 0 points for their teams, as we have Barney the dinosaur appear on our screen. But will he have a friend in us, or will he be a friend to only himself? He can rattle one down into the bottom right, but he's unable to pot it, bringing Joe back to the table and giving himself the easiest of opportunities to remain on 3 lives and only 1 card. He still has maximum lives, and he's got a pretty decent cue ball. Now Brad's up next, and he'll no doubt play a card. What a move by my playing partner. We're like Andy Cole and Dwight York. We're feeding off each other. We know what each other is going to do. If there's been plenty of cards played here, Steve's also played a card, bringing Scott 2.0 back to the table. Well, no, it's Brad. There must have been an Uno reverse. Brad, play another card, please. You have no chance of potting this, and you're only on 3. How was he on 3 lives? I just assumed he'd missed at some point. I can't believe I doubted my partner like that, but he did miss them, meaning he is down to 2, bringing Joe back to the table as we are back in our true form order. It's hard to keep up with what's going on, and can Joe knock this one down to the bottom right? and make sure that he remains on 3 lives, as we are about to re-rack if it is potted. We have ourselves a complete rack, meaning that Scott is going to break him off, and that's a pretty good split, and he even pots one to the top right. What's going to unfold in this next rack as Mark comes to the table? Now the man dressed as Mr. Krabs lays an absolute Patrick star, and Craig is livid with that. Craig doesn't possess any pulling ability, and he is going to need to pull off the shot of his life if he is to remain in this card killer competition. He's only got 1 card, and that's a +2, which is no good to him at this moment in time. He decides he's going to absolutely bash him. That was a push shot, but no one's going to call it out as Craig is too big a fella. He's like Wreck-It Ralph, but he is eliminated as he pushes Gary out the way, who's getting far too much joy out of rubbing Craig off. Now, not in a dirty way like you are thinking, merely scrubbing his name off that chalkboard. Scott 2.0 decides to play his last card and is sure that he survives a little bit longer, bringing Mark to the table after that reverse, and he manages to sink one nicely into the middle. Mark's going along nicely here. He remains on 2 lives, bringing the Pink Princess to the table, who's only on 1 life and could be eliminated here. And this isn't easy for Scott, but he pulls off the shot of his life. What a shot from my mate Scott, sinking that one down to the bottom left, and he plays the +2 on Joe, meaning that Joe now needs to pot 2 balls. That is a great play from Scott there. Joe's the best player. He's on 3 lives, and Scott has decided it's now or never. Are all of these players going to work against Joe here and keep laying +2s on him, making his job twice as difficult as it needs to be? He pots a tricky one and plays a lovely positional shot to ensure that he's going to pot his second as well, but he overhits that cue ball slightly, leaving on Brad, which is great for me. What a shot by Joe that was, and Brad's got the easiest of chances to remain on 2 lives and to also stitch Steve up a little bit with a good cue ball. Roll this one into the middle. Where's the cue ball going? Nicely on the cushion, bringing Steve to the table. Now, will Steve decide to take this shot on or use his skipper go? He decides to use his skipper go, bringing Scott 2.0 down to the table with his back against a wall. He's on 1 life, he has no cards remaining, and he has no easy shot in sight. He decides to take on the 8 ball. He went for the top right hand pocket, and that was nowhere near, showing that sequels are never as good as the original. Scott OG is still in, but 2.0 has been eliminated, securing 1 point for his team, bringing Mark to the table, who's got one to the top left-hand pocket to remain on 2 lives, but he can't sink it. What has he done there? The release from the care home for the day hasn't proved to be a valiant one for Mark. He'll be disappointed with that, but Scott can't find a pot either. He went for the double, and OG Scott is out with a whimper. He gets 3 points for his team, but that was like a non-entity. Steve decides to play his +2 on Joe. The team are really ganging up on their favourite here, and can Joe produce once again? That is his first great shot, and Joe decides for good measure he's going to pot this 8 ball as well, but he can't pot it. What is he doing? No one was expecting that, bringing my best mate to the table, who is going to get us an extra life. Come on, Brad, you can do it. You absolute stupid piece of... Oh my word, what are you doing, man? That was absolute cack. Why am I with this idiot? Who paired us up together? I deserve more, as Steve takes advantage of Brad being an imbecile. Now, I would like to apologise for that outburst there. It was very unprofessional, and as a commentator, I should be neutral, and better than that, I should realise that any team is only as good as its weakest player, meaning that I am a useless gimp, that I'm a bottom feeder and I have no chance of ever winning because I've been paired with Pigeon Hands himself, Brad, who can't pot the simplest of 8 balls, as Joe gets another +2 played on him. This is bullying, surely. There should be an Ofcom complaint. If you have been affected by anything in this video today, by Joe's suffering that he has endured, please let us know in the comments. Furthermore, take it to Watchdog, because this should not be tolerated on pre-recorded TV. Brad comes back to the table and he's got himself into the final three, and I am super proud of him, because with his ability he should have been out first, but he's managing to defy the odds, bringing Steve to the table, who's dressed in bright yellow. But will his future remain bright, or will he be down to one life like Brad after this attempt of a pot? Now this is tracking, it looks good, it's absolutely magnificent from the man who looks like Jesus, produces something godlike when it matters most. Steve has been a real stalwart for his pair so far today. He's upped his game and he's delivering when someone requires him most. The current standings are: Steve remains on 2, Joe, who's at the table, remains on 2 and still has a +2 to play on an opponent, and Brad, my playing partner, is down to 1 and he is in a spot of bother. All I can see is a long double, and if he doesn't make it, he's going to finish with a respectable 3rd. He's got us some points on the board, thank God, and he's managed to leave Steve in a tricky position as well. Does this go to the middle bag? It's going to be a fine chip, but the way Steve's playing today, it's not out of the question. Can he sink this in? It's easier than it looks as we move on to another rack between these two players. Now as Joe breaks off, he's certainly the favourite. He's got a +2 and he's a man known for his potting capabilities. But will the favourite tag way too heavy on him, or will he maintain focus and deliver another victory for his pair? Steve is hanging on in there though, and he won't be shook off easily. He's like a dog with a bone. But what's he thinking about now? He's not only thinking of the pot, he's thinking about how he can lay Joe into a bit of trouble as well, which I really admire from Steve. That's a pretty good shot, sunk it to the top left, and he hasn't left an easy one, but Joe's still got the +2. Is he saving it for a last hurrah? He's going to look to pot this red to the top left-hand pocket, but can he get a safe cue ball? He gets a pretty good cue ball himself. If Steve's going to take the one in the open, he's going to have to bridge over that pack. That won't be easy. That's like the suspension bridge going into Wales, which you have to pay for. That's a disgrace. What I think you have to pay, I can't remember. It's been years since I've been to Wales, but I love it. As you all know, I'm a Wrexham fan, and that was a close attempt from Steve, looking for something Hollywood-like, like the Wrexham owners, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. Steve's down to 1, Joe remains on 2. Joe did play the +2 there, and Steve wasn't even able to pot 1. Now this looks like a formality for Joe. Sinks that one into the top right. Bit of check side on there as well to make that cue ball even harder. Are we about to witness the end of this epic contest? Steve's thinking, he's deliberating. I would smack the living granny out of these and hope for the best. He's a son of God. Surely some divine intervention is not out the question when it matters most. Now we'll have a close look at this back. Of course we'll have a look, but can Steve find something? He aimed for 2, but neither went in, and this match is over. Joe takes maximum points and Steve takes 10 as we move on to the next challenge, where hopefully there's going to be a standings table, because I have no idea who is doing what. We are just about to have some graphics. Chris and Scott are no longer top. It's Lee and Steve after Steve delivering there, followed by Joe and Lou the dog. Chris and Scott and myself and Brad are in 5th. We need to get to this top 4. This is a no-look shot from me, but I'm unable to sink it down to the bottom right. This is a penalty shootout, bringing Lou the dog to the table, and needs to sink one straight. He can't pot them when they're over the hole, so he's got no chance of potting this, I'm sure. Lou now, it can't get any worse. It can, as Mick McCarthy would say. That's actually a pretty good attempt from Lou the dog, bringing Chris to the table, who's going to be looking to get him and his partner Scott back to the top of this leaderboard by the end of this challenge, and that was conviction there from Chris. Heart of the hole, bringing Gary to the table. Nice straight one. Can Gary deliver a straight cue and send this ball into its home? That's nowhere near. He can't even rattle the jaws. And no doubt he'll be disappointed with that. As Darren comes to the table, he'll be looking to get some points on the board for his team. And that by far was the furthest away we've seen. He did fluke it to the top right, but surely he's not going to be rewarded from that. As Noel delivers a safety. Oh, you score in disguise. Oh, you score in disguise. Lee, pretty good attempt. Can't rattle it. He cued it pretty nice, but it wasn't meant to be. As we move on to the next challenge, playing from the top cushion up there. Can I deliver? Can I bring some points home for myself and Brad? Potting has not been my forte so far today, and that's a pretty good attempt. I'm happy with that. Maybe I hit it a bit too hard as I bit onto the end of my cue in frustration. Bringing Lou the dog to the table, who likes biting more than just a bone. And that's a pretty good attempt from Lou as well. But he was unable to pot it. And while we're here, it seems about a great time to refer you to the points of our socials. We are available on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and of course on YouTube, where you are watching this video as of now. Please, any comments you've got to make, good or bad, we're happy to accept them. And don't forget to like, follow, and share, and do all that other stuff, as we want to become famous. No, not really. We do it for a laugh, just to show that Paul isn't about just clearing up. It's a game for a bit of fun and to get out there and to socialise. The world's tough and we all do this just to get out and about and to socialise and to make the world a slightly better place. And can Lee make the world a better place here? Sinking one from his top cushion. No one's potted one yet, but Lee delivers when it matters most, and he gives it to Dennis Taylor as we move on to our next challenge. Now, as you all know, I'm a pretty modest man, but this next challenge was designed for me. It's sort of a tip of the cap to my earlier season-winning shot where I rattled it off the jaws, potted the 8-ball, just to win a crucial match. That was to take me into the semi-finals of the league knockout, and I delivered when it mattered most, but today I can't deliver. The idea is to rattle it off them jaws, send the cue ball across and pot that 8-ball which is sat over the bottom right hand pocket, and Lou the dog got pretty close there. We've tried to block off every other angle, so that is the only real option to take, just so other people who are boring couldn't come off one cushion and try and pot it that way. Chris, like Lou the dog, was pretty close, and our next contender, Gary, comes to the table. Can anyone pot this 8-ball as of yet, as we witness the worst attempt so far? That is shocking. Now Darren's up to the table. He's got it. What a shot there from Darren. He's replicating his hero, me, as he manages to deliver that 8-ball from over the pocket into the hole. Noel's nowhere near, and Lee, who delivered last time, can't deliver this time without hitting the red in between, as we move on to our next shot. Now, this next shot is nice and simple for the good players out there. You need to play it off 3 cushions, find that gap and pot the 8-ball over the hole. And who better to show you than myself, who absolutely delivers. I am the postman. He's giving the number 1 to the fans out there. You're loving that. Do you like the celebration? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Here comes Lou the dog. You need a little tracer left-hand side on there just to whip it round off that. And that is appalling. This guy does not know his angle, so there was no chance that he was ever going to make that shot. But if anyone can out of these guys playing, it's Chris. He knows it. He's been around a pool table long enough throughout his life. But this isn't close. He's managed to hit the red. He did pot the 8, but that does not count. You're trying to get out of a snooker situation. Although there's red and yellows there, we're playing the 8-ball only. This looks good. That is a great shot from Gary. Who knew he had that in his locker? Bringing Darren to the table. You need a bit of left-hand side on there. He didn't manage to get any. And like Chris, he's managed to almost pot the 8, but he did hit the red first. And now we just have Noel to go, who's looking to sink it. That's not got the pace. It's not got the direction. And that is a tamer ending for Noel. And Lee to finish off this trick shot. Can he find it? He's a great snooker player, would you know? But that is not showing his class when it comes to going round the angles. Now this next challenge is nice and simple. You got to try and come off that knuckle over the middle pocket to pop that 8 over the bottom right hand pocket. I had my butt in the air early doors. Ooh-wee. But I decided to play the shot properly in the end. Now everyone's looking at all kind of angles. We've designed it so the only real option is to come off the knuckle. Can Lou find the knuckle? He loves to be knuckle deep, but this time it isn't a success story for Lou the dog when he has attempted his knuckle delivery. Chris now, he's having a go. Can he get some success? That's the closest so far, but that's no real bold claim. So far, these attempts have been absolutely appalling. Can Gary deliver? I've delivered this in league before. People have seen it. You've witnessed it with your own eyes, but I couldn't deliver today, and no one has been able to so far. Darren as well, he was looking to put his butt in the air. His arms aren't long enough for that. He's a tiny little man, and he's going to come off this knuckle like the rest of us. That's up there with the worst attempts so far. Can Nolly deliver? We're trying to get to the time of the Yuletide when Noel will be at his peak, but he isn't peaking there as he manages to only sink a loo ball, and that's another £1 for charity, all going to Angels for Dogs, and we're up to £291. And who said nothing good comes from this channel? Lee, like the rest of us, fails to deliver as we move on to our next game, but that's going to be in our next video, so stay tuned, come back and watch the rest of this pair's action and see who makes it into the semi-finals. We have more challenges to go, and I can tell you now, myself and Brad, eventually we will deliver. Not like that though, that's just a teaser. I do play some better stuff along the way. I'm not just trying to lure you in. So once again, like, subscribe, follow us to see more below average 8-ball pool.